Chapter 1. Cars are a metaphor. Imagine if cars had, rather than windscreens and windows, television screens that displayed a feed from a camera on the outside of the car, and that feed had a 10-second delay. How do you think your driving would be affected? That is the metaphor that economist Anthony Davies uses to describe government fiscal policy. They are trying to run the economy the best they can, but by the time they get the data upon which to make their decisions in front of them, the data in the real world has changed. I think that is a reasonable metaphor, but I want to give both sides of the argument fair weight. So imagine an average city. Either all the cars on the roads have regular windows, but are being driven by unlicensed 16-year-olds. Or all the cars on the roads are being remote controlled by a small team of skilled drivers experienced in driving many cars at once with the 10-second delay. Which option, in your opinion, would result in the best situation for efficiency and safety? The socialist movement could be conceived of as the search for a more fair, more generous, and more democratic economy. However, the economic foundations of capitalism are the best foundations for such a socialism. Capitalism is fair, generous, and democratic. Unfortunately, capitalism is a loaded term. It is important to clarify that the capitalism most worth defending is the lowest resolution picture. At the lowest resolution, all economic systems exist on a spectrum between the two tools we use to make economic decisions, markets and bureaucracy. Market economies use markets to determine what is produced in what quantities and for what price. Markets are run by money. Think of dollars as votes. Anyone who has dollars can vote on any decision in the entire economy. The only way to get votes is to get other people to vote for you. The more votes you receive, the more votes you can turn around and cast. Command economies use bureaucracy to determine what is produced in what quantities and for what price. Instead of voting directly on each decision, everyone gets one equal vote to cast for a person who will hire a team that will make all the decisions. Market economies are subject to manipulation by deception. People can trick each other into turning over votes. Command economies are subject to manipulation by force. Until a majority is able to come together to vote explicitly for a candidate who promises to fire the bureaucrats, and then that elected official does as promised, every decision the bureaucracy makes is enforced by the police and the army. Command economies struggle because there is no possible way that a bureaucracy could possibly know exactly how much of each natural resource is available, exactly how difficult each is to extract, exactly which needs those resources must be divided between, exactly how much labor each individual is capable of accomplishing, and exactly which and how many resources each laborer needs. And there is no possible way that a bureaucracy will be fast enough to react to the fact that each of those quantities changes every second of every day. Market economies struggle because no matter how equitably economic decision-making is distributed, as markets operate, the people who do well always end up accumulating an inordinate amount of economic influence. Just like a bureaucracy, as the number of people making the economic decisions shrinks, the accuracy and adaptability of those decisions stagnates. And let's be perfectly fair, a market is just a really big bureaucracy. The decisions are still made by fallible humans who lack data. This is where Davies' metaphor comes in. Markets are like 16-year-olds driving all the cars. No knowledge, no skills, no experience, just doing what they can with what is in front of them. Governments are like expert drivers trying to drive multiple cars with a 10-second delay, all the knowledge, skills, and experience a person could possibly have, but having to perform multiple operations simultaneously, based on an outdated picture of the world. In the real world, all economies are mixed economies, pitting bureaucracy against markets in some way to try to mitigate the shortcomings of each. So in reality, there is a mix of 16-year-olds and 10-second delays. At the lowest resolution, capitalism refers to economic systems that err on the side of market control, and socialism refers to economic systems that err on the side of bureaucratic control. For purposes of this video, a capitalist would rather ride in an Uber driven by a 16-year-old, and a socialist would rather ride in an Uber with a skilled remote controller and the 10-second delay. I maintain that capitalism is the best socialism because an economy that gives everyone autonomy is more fair, an economy that produces immense wealth is more generous, and an economy in which each individual has the opportunity to vote on every economic decision is more democratic than any economy run by a bureaucracy. Chapter 2. Economics is just economics. In simple terms, economics is what we do with the limited stuff that exists to make as much as possible of what people want. Stuff is an important part of human flourishing. Stuff includes food and shelter and medicine. You can be blessed with all the peace, love and happiness in the world, but if you don't have enough food, you die. The end. But human flourishing is not only about stuff. It's also about family and relationships, spirituality and philosophy, sometimes even biology. Economics can't touch the human soul. Robin Williams, Anthony Bourdain, Tony Scott, and David Carradine each had mind-boggling economic success. And each committed suicide. Because economics is just economics. The economy turns stuff that exists into stuff people want. The economy doesn't provide happiness. It doesn't provide fulfillment. It doesn't provide relationships or family or love. The economy can't even give you the stuff you need if you don't want it first. The economy turns stuff that exists into stuff people want. I've listened at length to as many prominent self-identified socialists as I could find, and a leading argument I have discovered is that capitalism is a failure because people are unhappy. We can all agree it would be great if there was an economic system that provided everything we all need and made us happy and gave us fulfillment and provided relationships and family and love, but there isn't. There never will be. That's not how it works. No matter how far we advance as a species, what we do with stuff will never answer life's biggest questions or give meaning to existence. Economics is just economics. Thank you for spending some time with a man with no shoes. Please like and subscribe if you got anything out of it, leave a comment if you have any thoughts worth sharing, and join me next week for my full argument.